Hey everyone, welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Annika and I'm your host today. So excited to be here truly on this Wednesday with Michael Essek, who will help us turn ideas into designs. I'm excited because I love t-shirts and everyone says, hey, put that on a t-shirt. And every time I want to put it on a t-shirt. So if you're joining this live on YouTube or Behance, say hi in the chat. I have my eyes peeled for you. So I'll be the liaison between the chat and Michael. So if you have any questions for them, make sure to put them in the chat. And without further ado, Michael, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what do you do, what are we doing today, what's the plan?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Annika. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, my name's Michael Essek. I'm a t-shirt designer. Primarily have been for about almost 10 years now. So I've been designing t-shirts and selling and licensing them online, primarily with print-on-demand platforms and websites like Printful, who we're going to talk about today, but others as well. And yeah, it's been quite an interesting journey over the past 10 years, building a business from basically what you said, coming up with silly ideas, turning them into designs, putting them out there into the wild, seeing people enjoy them and like them and follow you and those kind of things. So yeah, it's definitely a fun business to be in, and I hope we can walk people through the process of turning their ideas into t-shirts today, and in particular, allowing them to sell them to people really easily as well with Printful.
Awesome. I'm really excited because I've never used Printful. So this will be super helpful for me personally as well. And if you guys have any questions related to the business side of things or even how to turn your ideas into designs, I'm sure Michael will be able to help us because I know Michael has written a lot of books and ideas about that as well. So again, I want to say hi to Jeff, Oliver, Robert, Uma, and all of the lovely friends in the chat. Why don't we get started? Let's learn more about you.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of slides here that I'll start with. So let me just fire these up. And so yeah, today obviously we're calling this t-shirt design for Printful. And a little about me, I've been selling on various platforms and websites, mainly in the print-on-demand space, but also licensing my artwork to brick and mortar stores like your Hot Topics and your Spencers and stuff. So I've been in the t-shirt design world for a while now, and the kind of stuff I create is lots of puns, lots of cute jokes and animals and things like that. I like to play around with funny phrases. That's kind of my bread and butter. And today, what we're going to do is I've actually created a couple of designs for this collection and really a kind of mini brand, which I'm calling Cute Cryptids. So the idea here, as you can probably tell, we've got a couple of cryptid uh, characters or creatures. We got the Mothman and the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot here. And so the idea was to do a series of designs featuring these kinds of characters and then start a store that we can start a kind of mini brand around. So here's another of the designs that we put together for this. So today I'm actually going to create a brand new design for this mini brand, and then we'll walk through the process of uploading that to Printful, walking through that. And then if we've got some time at the end, I'll also show a couple of extra products that we can create with Printful, because it's not just t-shirts we can do stickers, we can do hats and some other products as well. So we'll see if we have time for that. Depends how fast I can get through this design. And yeah, so I'm going to use Fresco for the actual design side and Photoshop to kind of finalize the design. So should we get started with that?
Yeah, let's do it. I love that everyone in chat already love these and the textures on those are beautiful. So yeah, let's
Well,
let's get
thank you.
into it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to try and do that here today as well. So I'll open with um, Fresco here on the iPad. So I'm over here in the iPad in Fresco, and here's my initial sketch here. So this is my idea. Uh,
Mm.
so essentially, we're going for a pun, or I call these kind of rhyme and replace puns. So God bless this Ness instead of God bless this mess.
Yeah.
That's the kind of crux of the joke here. And so we got the little Loch Ness monster, and we're going to try and turn this very rough sketch into a t-shirt design. So a couple of things to note right off the bat here is the actual size of the canvas. So here in Fresco, obviously you can specify exactly what kind of size canvas you like. And I've got a template set up. This is uh, this is 4,500 pixels by 5,400 pixels, which is essentially the kind of standard t-shirt canvas size that you'll need. And then that design, if you create it on this canvas, you can then upload that to essentially most of the print on demand platforms and services, in particular Printful, who we're using here today. So that's something to bear in mind. That's quite a large canvas.
Yeah.
Quite large compared to probably what you might be typically using if you're only designing for screen or for small projects like that. But it does mean that we have a quite large design, which once printed is going to be very high density, high quality on the shirt. So we want to make sure that we're doing that here. And I'm not going to be doing this in vector. I'm going to be using, pixel and uh, here in Fresco using the pixel brushes. So having a nice big canvas like that means that we'll get a nice quality design and a quality print out the other side. So
Awesome. Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there any other things in terms of like canvas size or like DPI that we need to take in consideration when doing something
Yeah,
like
so
this?
I'm using a 300 DPI
Yeah.
at that canvas size, so it's pretty that'll be fine. That's plenty, and
Yeah.
um, probably the only other thing to mention here, just as you can see, what I'm doing here is we really want to try and make the most of this canvas. So I'm just trying to position my sketch so that I kind of maximize um, the print area here because we're not printing on there's no kind of border on a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
We want to try and fill as much of that space as we typically, or we do. Typically, you want to do that. It depends on the design, of course. Sometimes you might want the design to just be on the chest area, but for something like this, we're going to try and fill the space pretty tightly so that we have a nice big print that's making the most of our illustration here. So I'm going to position that. I think that's going to be fine for a starting point. And then I'm going to go ahead and just reposition a few things here. I'm going to go ahead and kind of flesh this out a bit and do a bit of more detailed uh, work here before we get to the kind of final line work that we're going to do. So I'm just going to make sure I've got a pencil brush here. I'm going to use the Kyle's Drawing Box Perfect Pencil. And
Mm.
just to make this nice and clear, I'll do this just use a bright red. And I might just drop the opacity of this layer a little bit so that I can do a kind of better finalized sketch before we get to the line work. So that looks good. So I'm happy to take questions, by the way, if there's anything that anyone wants to ask as I'm doing this. I'll try my best to walk through my process.
Yeah.
I should say that for sake of time, I'm not going to hand letter this one. I'm going to use a font once we get over into Photoshop. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of sketch out my Loch Ness, my Nessie, in a bit more detail so that we can do some nice clean line work in a few minutes here.
That's awesome. Do you typically hand letter your alphabets or glyphs?
It really depends on the design. So
Yeah.
with this particular like series of designs, we're trying to keep everything uh, pretty uniform so that all the designs kind of match and look similar.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I'm using a font and using the same font for like all of the designs. But it
Mm.
really depends. Like I do like to hand letter, and if there's a design where I feel that would be, worthwhile and uh, and something that would add to the design, then I'll definitely do that. I think when it comes to t-shirt designs, so much of it is delivering the idea and the concept in the clearest way to the viewer because t-shirts are such a immediate medium.
Yeah.
They're like memes or cartoons. You get one chance, you get one glance at it, and it's got to communicate the meaning perfectly in that one shot. So sometimes that means or often that means really simple, trying to simplify designs as much as possible. So not overcomplicating things, not getting too fancy, not hand lettering, perhaps, especially if it could complicate the design. So
Yeah,
oftentimes
absolutely.
I'll
It's
try and
also
keep it simple.
like sorry, also like you have to explain the joke. Even the words have to be the correct length almost for it to be
Yeah,
understood in a fraction of seconds that you're looking at a t-shirt.
exactly. It's got to be readable. It's got to be scannable,
Yeah.
especially if you think that a lot of designs are going to be appearing on a search page on on Amazon or somewhere like that,
Yeah.
or on a website where people are just scrolling through. Then it's going to be a thumbnail size design. So yeah, you really want to make sure that it's uh, really easily read and clearly scannable by the potential buyers.
Yeah. And is
So
there a reason that you're not using a vector brush? Someone on YouTube just asked that.
yeah, it's really kind of because I grew up just with Photoshop. Really, I've been using Photoshop for probably 20 years or something. So uh, even coming into vector world was something I was slow at, and I just always was more comfortable in Photoshop. So, I mean, before the iPad came along, I had a graphics tablet. I would draw in Photoshop.
Yeah.
So obviously, usually with pixel brushes and stuff. So I know obviously, like if you're comfortable with vector brushes and you're comfortable with that, then obviously that's probably a better uh, choice. You will get, slightly cleaner graphics and stuff. But
Yeah.
because of the kind of dimensions we're working at here and because of the quality of a lot of the brushes here in Fresco, by the time you've actually finished the design and finalized it, um, there's not going to be that big of a difference. And especially if you're designing like we are here, quite simple
Yeah.
designs. We're not using too many colors. We're not using loads of crazy halftones and stuff like that. It doesn't really matter that much. I find that a lot of my designs, I could just as easily take them and vectorize them, and you would essentially lose very little. You could take them over into Illustrator, do live trace, and you would still have
Yeah.
essentially all of the quality still there. Um, so yeah, that's the main reason. It's kind of my habit. Um, Plus, I like to be able to. I like the integration with Fresco and Photoshop that we can take this design and open it in Photoshop, send it back to Fresco. All those kind of things make it really easy to do changes, as you'll see here as we go through.
That's awesome.
So I think that's pretty close to final line work quality sketch. So we can just, again, maybe just drop the opacity. I'll probably hide this layer, drop the opacity on this one.
Could we also do like a quick layer rundown of what you have in Fresco? People are
Yeah,
curious what you're.
yeah, very little on this one. So we just got the background layer, which is just white here.
Yep.
And then, don't know what that layer is. Maybe just a rogue layer there. I think we can delete that. And then we had the sketch. So that was literally just like a
Yeah.
quick sketch that I did here in Fresco, just trying to get, layout, uh, rough layout together so I can start forming the design. And then we've got the kind of tightened up sketch. So this is going to be the basis for the line work. And then right now I'm just going to do a new layer, and this is going to be uh, the the actual line work layer. So I'm going to find a bit of a tighter brush here. I think we'll use the Ultimate Rough Inking brush, and we'll do this in a black. So this is a nice strong brush, but it is still has that kind of slight hand drawn feel to
Yeah.
it, which I like. That's kind of what we're going for. We want a little bit of character in the design. Again, that's another reason why I know you can get kind of roughened vector brushes as well, but I quite like the kind of feel of brushes like this that are not too polished
Yeah.
from the get-go. So I've got
Yeah,
my
I agree.
smoothing.
Some of the pixel brushes are also, I think it adds to the style as well. Like what you develop over the years while using these pixel brushes, it also like kind of
Yeah,
adds to your style and like informs, and someone can really look at a design and tell that, oh, this is from Michael. Like I can just maybe
yeah,
tell. just by
Yeah,
looking.
exactly.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been designing for a while knows that they have their favorite
Yeah.
brushes, their favorite fonts, and the good old faithful whatever it might be that they want to use.
Yeah.
And that's certainly the way with me. Once you find something that works, kind of like with vector brushes and stuff, it's like, why aren't you using vector stuff? Well, just because I'm comfortable
Yeah.
and I'm too old to start learning new tricks sometimes. But
No, also like
obviously,
whatever works for your workflow better. There are like 100
yeah,
different ways to do the same thing, but what works for you
exactly,
works
yeah,
for you. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, and yeah, that's true with t-shirt designs as well.
Yeah.
Obviously this design is basically a pun, a joke. There's infinite ways to lay out that text and to lay out a Loch Ness monster around it. It's really um, interesting, especially now with AI stuff. There's lots of uh, ways of formatting a design, and AI is pretty interesting in helping us kind of brainstorm options and stuff like that. Um, but there's still a lot to be said for pulling out your pencils or your iPad and literally just sketching ideas and seeing what you can come up with. So
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because I was thinking about how or what would be the one tip that you would say is for my designs to stand out in today's saturated market. Like I'm not on Printful or I don't do merch because I think it's a
hmm
very saturated market. And I think like how would I make my design stand out? And is there something that
yeah.
you do that, to make them stand out in the market?
So I think there's so many different ways to make this business work
Yeah,
for you. There's marketplaces, print on demand sites which make it very easy where you can just upload a design and they'll do everything else.
yeah,
There's places like Printful is where Printful is going to do the actual printing and the shipping for you. So they're going to take all that off your hands, but they're not going to actually sell it for you. So you need to have a kind of front end marketplace. So that could be an Etsy store, it could be a Shopify store or something like that. So that is something that there's lots of different kind of options there. So it depends really whether are you going to be starting your own thing, like your own brand under your own
yeah,
name or under some other kind of name, or are you going to try and sell to the marketplace that's already there or that already exists, like on Amazon or Etsy or something like that. So I do a bit of everything. I have done a bit of everything. Um, and so sometimes I'll be creating designs based on trends and what's happening right now, especially if I spot something that I think is hot or interesting. Um, and then other times, like here, I might be thinking I'm going to create a brand or something of my own that I can set up a Shopify store and build something like that. So it really depends what you want to do. Like there's so many options out there. There's so many different ways to sell. Um, and standing out is really a question of where you're selling on and
yeah,
the market you're selling to. So for trending designs and that kind of stuff, it's really a question of getting there first with a good solid idea and a good design. And then when it comes to something like this or your own thing, um, it's kind of similar to, I suppose, you know, building a following on Instagram. Uh,
yeah,
you post your stuff, people find it, they like it. It's not easy, it's slow, but there are ways to do that and to do it well and to get people seeing your stuff through organic social media or through, some people use paid ads and things like that. So it really depends what your goal is, I suppose, and how quickly you want to
yeah.
get there.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
I think there are some free resources on your website as well. Someone in the chat says thank you for the PDF, and for a lot of tips.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, I've actually set up a link on my website just for today, actually. Uh, so my website is michaelessek.com.
Yeah,
And if people want to go to michaelessek.com/Adobe, there should be a sign up form there to get my ebook. I've got an ebook about coming up with better ideas. 5 ways to better ideas. So that's available free if you want to access that today.
Awesome. I'm signing up as we speak.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this line work. I'm just trying to keep a close eye on the time as well, so we don't lose track of things. You might need to give me a nudge when we've got, when we reach the half-hour mark, or
Yeah,
we
we're
got
good for
half an
now.
hour or 50 minutes left. We're good. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we're only 20 minutes in right now. So if
All
anyone's just
right. Feels
joining
like,
us,
yeah.
yeah.
You lose track
Feels
of time, don't
longer.
you, when you join? Yeah. Can feel longer
Absolutely.
or short.
It's also
Um,
like live streams. I think when you're also
yeah,
talking to someone and answering questions, it takes up twice as much and maybe thrice as much time than you would do on your
it
own
really
time.
does. Yeah, it really.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't pick a design that's like too complicated here because I don't think I would have got through it in time. So, but yeah, I think this is fine for our line work. So obviously, if I had more time, I'd maybe tweak things here and there and make it more palatable. But this will probably do us for today. So next up, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, what am I going to do? So I actually want to do this design on a kind of lighter background t-shirt. So the other designs that we showed right at the start, most of them are on dark color backgrounds.
Yeah.
Um, so I saw a color on Printful, which is kind of like a light mint color. So I'm just going to set the background of the whole canvas to try and reflect that. So it was kind of, I'm going to have to guess at it, but it's kind of something like this kind of color. So if I just do that there, so that's going to be our kind of background. So one thing you need to think about and bear in mind when you're designing for t-shirts is that obviously the print is going to be printed onto the fabric,
Yeah.
and you're not going to have a background obviously to your design. So eventually this background is simply going to disappear, and whatever's left is what's going to be printed onto the shirt. So it's good practice to have a background color that kind of matches what your end goal is, especially when you're picking colors and those kind of things. Um, so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to kind of use this as the background, and then I'm going to set up a layer to do some coloring. So I'm going to set my line work as a reference layer, and then I'm going to just pick a color kind of slightly darker than this. Still want it to be quite punchy. Maybe something like that. And then let's see if we can color this guy in. So that's a little bit darker than I had in mind. So I'm going to lighten that up a bit, I think.
So when you upload your designs on Printful or any other print services, do you still retain the license to the artwork or how does that work?
Yeah, so with Printful, for example, and with most print-on-demand platforms, you are granting them a license to sell your design.
Yeah.
So you maintain yeah, you still have the copyright and everything. You simply essentially say to them, I grant you uh, a uh, a license or the permission um, to sell this design on my behalf. So that's how it works. So
Yeah.
obviously you maintain copyright. It's one of the interesting things at the moment with AI generated artwork, of course, because I'm sure
Yeah.
some people might be thinking, hey, I could generate this um, using AI or something like that. Which of course in theory you could, maybe. It's not going to look,
Yeah.
as nice as this.
Yeah.
But also, of course, anything generated with AI is still, as things stand, it's not copyright protectable. So you would
Yeah.
essentially be creating and selling something that anyone could copy and sell anyway. So that's
Yeah.
something to bear in mind with some of these um, AI generators as they stand.
That's similar to something Tazzy in the YouTube chat asks, how to ensure that people cannot replicate your designs. Is there a possibility that we can protect a design by a license?
Yeah, so it's a tricky one actually. When it comes to print on demand or really anything like that. There really is no way
Yeah.
to ultimately protect something. If something goes up online, as you know, it's very easy for people to copy that and to sell that elsewhere. Um, so yeah, there really isn't that much you can do. But of course, once you have created the copyright to it, you can file copyright takedowns. You can do things like that. So I do recommend that people do that. It's a fairly simple process. But unfortunately, as things stand, it's not easy to actually.
Someone is replicating your designs. Like until and unless
Yeah.
someone sends it to you or you stumble upon it, there's no actual way of finding if it's being replicated or being sold.
Yeah, there are some services that have tried to do things like that, and some print on demand platforms actually try to
Yeah.
protect people's artwork. But yeah, it's still messy, and it's constantly a game of cat and mouse
Yeah.
with this kind of stuff. It's not something that can be easily fixed, really. So yeah, it's a tricky one,
Yeah.
and
As
I
with
wish there
anything
was.
on the interwebs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, it would be wonderful if if we could live in a world where people didn't steal things. But I think
Yeah.
until we do, we're unfortunately kind of a little bit stuck. But one of the things that's helped me is just kind of having this mindset of, I'm a creator. I'm going to create. That's my job, and I'm not going to stop creating. I'm just going to keep on going. And if you do that for long enough, I think you'll find that you can build a steady business simply because of the amount of artwork that you've got out there and because of the amount of sales that you're getting and those kind of things. So it's absolutely possible to make it work, but it is quite a mindset shift to get over the pain of seeing someone, stealing your artwork, which unfortunately does happen and still happens.
Yep.
Okay, so I've got my colors here. I think this will form the basis for our kind of color design. So basically, I'm only gonna use two colors for this design. We've got the kind of darker green and then the kind of bolder, richer green color. So those are the only two colors that are going to be printed on this design. So what that means is that's really a nice kind of visual thing. Obviously, limited color palettes for t-shirts works very well anyway.
Yep.
Printful actually use these print on demand printers, these direct to garment printers, and they can print any number of colors that you like. But I still like to design a limited color palette, two or three colors, three, four, maybe max, because then we can always take that design and if it blew up, we can transfer over to a screen printer. We might be able to produce things cheaper
Yep.
um, by doing it in a screen printed way. And as you may know, screen printing is based on the cost. The cost is based on how many screens, how many colors you
Yeah.
you add onto the design. So that's why we're doing it that way. Um, okay, so I am going to just do a little bit of shading on this guy just to add uh, a bit of life to him and make it pop a little bit more. So I just added a layer there and doing a clipping mask, and I'm just going to pick a stipple brush here, which is what you saw on some of the other designs. The kind of shading that we had going on there was a kind of stipple brush. So I'm going to use that same thing here. And what this does, as you can see, it's a nice kind of not quite a half tone effect, but a nice kind of clean dots um, that we can use to do some shading here. So I'll just do a bit here. I don't want to go overboard really. You want to try and keep it simple and not get too detailed, but
Whenever I use a stipple brush, I always get stuck on it looking perfect. But I forget that it
yeah,
cannot ever look perfect, I think.
no, no, no. It's yeah, it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite brushes to use because it's just so flexible and it's not
Yeah.
you don't have to be precise with it. I think
Yeah.
that's another thing with like vector stuff in general is, you know, you can't always just kind of cut loose and draw freely like you can here. So
Yeah.
um,
I
so I
think
think
that's why because I use stipple vector brushes in Illustrator.
okay, yeah, yeah.
So you can change like with the pen tool and stuff, but over here you can just draw. So I think that's where the difference
Yeah,
is.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously you don't have the same precise control that you do in
Yeah.
Illustrator, but you can kind of draw and just kind of go for it. So I think what we'll do here now, I might just add what should we do? I think I might just yeah, if I just do a mask here, and I'm just gonna go for go back to the inking brush that I had. And what I want to do is just add kind of a couple of thick lines just to kind of show like a highlight or something like that. Let's see what that looks like. Let's hide this sketch. Oh yeah, hide these sketches. Yeah, so just do a little bit of detail on the on Nessie. Whoops. So
There's a
again, this is not
question. Sorry. There was a question in chat by
sure.
Crystal who
Yeah.
says when you zoom into the scales, there looks like there's a transparent line between the inner border and the fill, and they encounter it themselves. How do you fill it in completely?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had noticed that, but I typically find that it isn't an issue by the time we get to like printing quality and things like that. Like it's such a this is what you're talking about, right? There's kind of a
Yeah.
ever so slight line there, which is kind of annoying. But remember that we are if we look at the actual, so that is the size. That's 100%. That's the kind of canvas size that we're looking at. I don't know what that looks like to you on your screen, but that's pretty big. That just that
That
part
is
of the
pretty
head
big.
is there.
Yeah.
It's massive. So
Yeah.
imagine that whole design is probably the size of me,
Yeah.
if we were to kind of translate it like that. And then so by the time that is shrunk down onto a t-shirt, this size, it is going to get lost in the mix. Um,
Yeah.
but of course, you could do things like you could come in here and just manually touch that up. If you're in Photoshop, you could just kind of grow that out and cover it that way or something. But for the sake of time today, I think we'll just kind of ignore that and let it
Yeah.
come out in the wash. And I don't think it will be noticeable by the time we've got a kind of finished design here.
Yeah. I think
Um,
in Fresco, there's like a color margin feature that was added.
okay.
So when you
Yeah.
use the paint bucket
Yes.
onto
You
that,
can
you can
select
increase
it.
the color margin,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which kind of decreases the amount of white space.
Yeah. 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 I'm sure there's other ways like that we could do,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm not going
But
to let it bother
yeah,
me
also
right.
the scale really doesn't really, you can't really tell at this scale what it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It
I
just
couldn't
doesn't
even
matter.
tell actually. I didn't even know
Yeah.
there was a white space until someone mentioned it.
Yeah, I can just about see it, but yeah, it is one of those slightly annoying things.
Yeah.
But like I say, it'll come out in the wash as it were. By the time it's uploaded, we won't see it. Um, okay, so I've got this illustration here. I think that will make a good start. I think if we just yeah, so that's our kind of layout. So I think what I'm going to do now is save this and head over to Photoshop here on my desktop. So I'll just wait a couple of seconds for that to, okay, that's uploaded. And I will, there it is.
Awesome. Yeah. That was
So
seamless.
there's, yeah, exactly, yeah, which is really great. Like that integration between the two makes everything super easy. A lot saves a lot of time and hassle. You don't have to export files and import them and mess around with stuff like that. Um, so I'm probably even more comfortable in Photoshop. Really, that's my bread and butter everyday
Yeah.
tool. So now I've got my illustration, which I'm quite happy with. Obviously, I want to add the text here. So let me show my sketch layer. So I've got something to work from.
Is there a reason, Michael, that you switched over from a graphics tablet to an iPad for your drawings? or is
Yeah.
that part of your process?
Well, I think it was this was back before there really was iPads
Yeah. Yeah.
that I had a graphics tablet, so it was we had to,
Yeah.
you know,
There
you
was no
had
other
to have
choice,
a.
but
There was no other
yeah.
choice, yeah, exactly. And it was I remember that, yeah, I had a little tiny white thing. It was only like this big, and it was pretty terrible, but that's what you had to do back in those days. So yeah, as soon as
Yeah.
the iPad came out, or the as soon as the iPad with pencil came out,
Yeah.
um, I was pretty set on getting one of those. And yeah, it's just so much easier to work that way and to do your sketches and to have everything integrated exactly where you need them. So that's the way I think about it. So right now I'm
Mm.
just going in and I've got this font that we're using across the kind of series of designs. So I want to kind of keep that uniform. Um, I think I'm going to want to have this. Yeah, that's behind the design. That's fine. So I'm just trying to uh, line things up and make things kind of fit, um, bearing in mind that we want to try and fill the canvas as best we can, make best use of the space.
Yeah.
Um, and while at the same time, of course, we do want the design to be clear and readable. We don't want this to be uh, difficult to read. So I've got a font here which I'm quite happy with. Um, it's readable, but it's also got a nice kind of retro kind of vibe to it, kind of 70s
Yep.
kind of thing going on.
What's the
Um,
font called? Someone in chat
so this
wants to
font
know.
is called Gliker. I think it's pronounced Glikeer.
Mm.
Um, so
Okay.
yeah, and it comes in these different sizes as well, which obviously is helpful. These
I
different
love that
styles. So
instantly adding that type kind of makes it look complete almost.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is often the way I work. Is I'll do an illustration, bring it into Photoshop,
Yeah.
start messing around with text, and then pretty soon you've got a design that's pretty much ready to go. Obviously, we're going to touch this up a bit more,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, you could almost, depending if you're in much of a rush or not, you could ship this out if you wanted to. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have a look at these. Yeah, I'm a bit torn between two color options for the. I
Mm.
think we'll go for this slightly subtler one. Because I think that by the time we get that onto the shirt, it's still going to look pretty good, and it will just be a bit of a subtler vibe than the
Yeah.
darker
Not too in the
version.
face with the darker colors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we're kind of keeping the focus on the illustration there.
Yeah.
Um, so now I've added the text here, I can just head out of here, just close that down, head back into Fresco, and wait a couple of seconds. I'll give it a refresh and hopefully, fingers crossed, we should find that it gets updated. But it's taking a bit longer than expected. Let me just head back over to Photoshop and make sure it did save.
Yep.
Looks like it did. Hmm.
Maybe it takes like a couple seconds to
Yeah,
update with
so,
the
oh, it's
cloud.
just thinking now. I think here we go. Okay, back over to Fresco, and there it is. We can see the updated version now. And if we open that up, there we go.
Oh,
So
cool.
again, we've got the text. So because I don't have this font actually installed on Fresco, you can see we've got little question marks on the layers there. But what I'm going to do is just convert these all to pixel layers, which you
Yeah.
can do really quickly. And that just means it's going to be treated like any other layer, or it's as if I've drawn the text, as it were.
Yeah.
So then we can
Yeah.
play with these with this text. So what I think I want to do here is, how are we doing for time, Annika?
We're about 40 minutes into the stream, so about halfway, almost halfway through.
Almost halfway through. Okay, we got time
Yeah.
then. Yeah, we can spend
Yeah.
a bit of time on this. So,
Yeah.
so obviously this looks okay, but I want to kind of make it look a little bit nicer and do some textures and stuff. So, um, what I'm going to do is head over and, uh, yeah, I'm going to do. What am I going to do? I think we'll make a mask here for
Okay.
this layer for the first part of the text. And then I am going to use the stipple brush again. So again, same brush, same kind of size. And we'll do this kind of slight gradient effect. So similar to how we were just kind of doing the shading uh,
Messy.
on Nessie. Yeah. I'm going to do the same thing here. And
Ooh, that
that
looks cool.
It looks okay. But to make it even better, just to give it that extra clarity, um, this is one thing I've started messing around with. And again, probably do this a bit quicker using like a border or something. But I'm gonna like just manually go in. Let's make this a bit bigger and just erase essentially using the mask. Erase the stipple brush kind of around the corners of the lettering. So what this should do, if we flick back, you see it kind of gives us a bit of a border
Yep.
around that G. So just make it a bit clearer compared to the O and the D. Um, so that's the idea behind this. So just do that here. Again, I'm going to do this kind of fast. And again, you could use like a, border effect or something to achieve this same thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, keeping in mind that legibility is like most important when you're scaling because this is at a very
exactly.
large scale. And when you scale it down to a t-shirt, it's probably going to be illegible if you don't do something like this. Or maybe like
Yeah.
less readable from a
Just
distance.
slightly less, yeah. We just want to
Yeah.
make sure that there's no chance that people kind of
Yeah.
lose the message, because the whole design is simply that joke, really. That's
Yeah.
carrying the whole thing. If you don't have the text, you
Yeah.
really don't have much. So I'm going to do this for each of these layers. So same again, hide layer and use the stipple brush to just do a very quick rough.
That's a pretty cool display font too. Do you always have you always been using this or is it just for the scripted collection?
Sorry, what was that for the? Are we
For
talking
the
about the brush?
font,
Oh, the
no, for
font?
the font, have you always been using like is it one of your personal favorites or is it just like
No, no,
for
it's
this
just
scripted
one I
collection?
saw, yeah, that I thought was a
Okay.
good fit for this particular
Yeah.
series of designs. And yeah, again, like it's a nice readable one. It's not difficult to
Yeah.
and because you've got the flexibility, I like the fact you've got the different sizes. You've got condensed, you've got
Yeah.
uh wide, so that's really useful for t-shirt designs because often you've got a phrase and you want
Yeah.
it to make the best use of the space, and to do that you really need uh you've got obviously words with different lengths of letters in.
Yep.
So it really helps to have a font that you can kind of do that with without manually stretching it and distorting it and making it look cheap. Um, so that was another plus for this particular font. Yeah,
Nice. Yeah. Always love a lot of variations.
yeah. It's particularly useful for that kind of stuff. Um, so again, here we got the tail just kind of in front of the bee, but I think that's okay. We can still, make out most of the
Yeah.
bee. It's not completely lost. Like some of those magazine covers, sometimes you see where you can't even see the title at all. So
Yeah.
I think we'll get away with this one. So again, just doing the same thing here. I could have put these all on one layer, I suppose, and done it all together, but doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I think this all if you do it this way, that also gives you like kind of non-destructive workflow where if you don't like one of
Exactly.
those, you don't have to like delete all of it. You can just
Exactly. Yeah.
redo one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If we mess something up, we can
Yeah.
just undo it really quickly. And that's the great thing about masks and clipping masks and everything is um
Yeah.
yeah, back in the day, obviously, I would just be layer upon layer and
Yeah.
of stuff and making a right mess. And uh, this means we can work without destroying the actual artwork underneath, which is really good. Um, so that's coming along pretty nicely. And then actually think maybe finesse, because that's kind of the crux of the joke. What we might do just to mix it up a bit. Same principle. No, actually, tell you what. Uh, hmm. What we might do instead is a clipping mask on top, and we'll do this way. So we'll use the darker shade,
Yeah.
and so same idea, but I'm just going to use a kind of darker color to make this pop out a bit, um, stand out slightly from the others.
Yeah. I was
Um,
wondering if there's like a color variation that you also ever make, like something. What I would have in mind for something like this would be have the type be different colors. So like maybe
yeah,
use both the colorways and not just one single color for all the type.
yeah, exactly. You can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the usual stuff, isn't it? You can change the size, you can change the color, you can change the font. It really
Yeah.
depends on the design and what you're going for. And yeah, I think the most important thing, like we've already said, is you don't want to get in the way of the idea. You don't want to throw any obstacles in the path of your viewer. So as long as it's readable. Also, though, something to bear in mind is you don't want to beat people over the head with the joke all the time.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can help to be subtle, not
Yeah.
too subtle, of course, but subtle enough that people are like, "Oh yeah, I like that. I'm going to wear it." Because people like wearing jokes, but they don't necessarily want to wear jokes that look ugly.
Yeah.
Um, it's going to have to be a really, really funny joke, um, if they're going to wear an ugly t-shirt.
Yeah.
So
It has to be
that's
the
the
right
other.
balance, I think. It's
Exactly,
not
yeah.
supposed to be too obvious and it can't just be something that you have to explain to people. It should be
Exactly,
like
yeah.
the right in between.
It's an art, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Um,
No pun intended.
no pun intended, yeah. So yeah, this looks pretty good. Just gonna tidy up a few bits there. So still pretty subtle. We've not really, warped the text too much.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's pretty close to decent on the text. I think one more thing I might just do um, is I've got this other brush. Oh, actually, oh yeah. Tell you what I'll do. We've got the stipples kind of on the lower bit. I might just go in and just literally do one or two like dots just to make it look like we've kind of got a bit of a weathered kind of text effect going on, and we're
Yeah.
not just got it all at the bottom. So I'll just do that for these guys as well. So pop, pop, pop. No rhyme or reason to it. Just throw
I
it up
think it
there.
makes it look more cohesive. I would expect
Yeah,
that from
exactly. Just
like,
makes it look, yeah, like it's makes it look a bit more like a t-shirt design as well,
yeah,
which is always good because
almost like some parts of the print were missing, or I was my
yeah,
put
like
my t-shirt in the
kind of
dryer and like some
screen print
paint came out.
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
so
cool.
yeah, that's something that you can do. And again, it's really obviously still a really simple
Yeah.
design, simple layout, but we've just got a bit more going on there. In fact, tell you what would be good now I think of it would be to do the same thing here on Nessie. Just throw a few dots on him. Nessie's a female name, isn't it?
I
uh,
mean, it could be both.
could be could be anything.
Could
Yeah,
be
nobody
anything. Yeah.
knows.
Yeah.
At the bottom of the lock.
Yep.
Until we dig it out, we don't know, do we? Okay. I think all that remains really here is I want to give this a bit more depth because it's a little bit flat. So if we just go in here and I think I'm just going to draw some waves,
Yeah.
just to kind of Uh, Not quite happy with that one. Make it look and fill a bit more of this space up so we're not just it was a bit messy. So we're not just looking at too much blank space. Um, to take my time with these.
So, while I know you've been making t-shirts for a while, do you know, did you ever first start out with like a target audience in mind, or did it come like organically when you started finding statistics of like who buys the t-shirts, or did you change your creative process to tailor it to the audience that loves your t-shirts more? How did that come along?
Yeah, it's definitely a process.
Yeah,
I discovered some of these print on demand sites like actually Printful was one of the later ones. Redbubble was the first site that
yeah,
I sold on, and I kind of stumbled across it and thought actually it was there was these websites like T Fury. I don't know
hmm.
if you're familiar with some of those, but they do
I've heard
like
of T-Public. If you use
TeePublic.
that,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was one of the first I sold on as well.
yeah,
Um, and the thing about those was they would sell a design for like 24 hours, and
yeah,
then that would be it. The design would be taken down, and that was kind of the business model. So there was kind of a hype thing going on around what design
yeah,
was it today and that kind of stuff. So I was just kind of looking at these and thinking I could come up with some good design ideas, I think. So obviously, typical bravado. Created some designs and then rejection, 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 rejection. And then finally one was accepted
yeah,
and yeah, and it sold on one of these websites and it sold like 200 or 300 t-shirts in like 24 hours. And
wow,
obviously you
yeah.
made like 10% of that or something. And I was like, whoa, this could actually work. Like if I can do that, a few times a month or something. And at the time there was a lot of these websites springing up. So I was like, well, I don't have to sell just on that one. There's all these other ones I can sell on as well.
Yep.
So then I stumbled across Redbubble, which was a bit more of a static situation. It wasn't the panic of 24-hour sales. You could put a design up and it could sell all year long.
Yeah.
Um, and I just started with things I knew about. So there was a couple of like cult movies that I was into where
Yeah.
I was disappointed that there wasn't many designs around for these. So I created some. And that's where I got some of my first sales. And and yeah, it was really a kind of numbers game. It's just a case of if you want to sell more, you have to have a bigger portfolio because you don't know what people are going to like, you don't know what's going to work, and you just need to keep kind of growing it.
Keep
And
creating. Yeah.
yeah, and that was a something that took me a while to actually uh, figure out. Or you kind of learn it in stages. You're like, oh, I'm not. What you mean? I'm not going to get rich off the 5 designs I've created? Oh, that's a
Yeah.
shame. And then it was like, oh, okay, I need 20 designs or more. Okay, I can do that. And then it was 20, you need like 200 if you're going to make a serious living from it.
Yeah.
So it kind of dawns on you over time, the kind of scale that you really need, which is a lot higher than I think we
Yeah.
usually think in the first place. But on the flip side, if you are creative, then what else are you going to do? You're going to be creating something
Yeah.
for someone. Might as
Yeah.
well be for you, creating
Yep.
designs that you can sell and license. Uh, even for the rest of, well, I've got designs that are still selling from, you know, almost 10 years ago. And
Wow.
it's such a crazy, and obviously they're yours, you own them, you can continue to license them and do things with them. Um, so yeah, it's one of those things that just keeps on going
Yeah.
or
And
can
you
do
have
if
like
you do.
100% creative freedom. No
Yeah.
clients to tell you that this was supposed to be done a different way, or like there's a different creative direction, because at the end of the day, you decide what goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, which is a blessing and a curse because
Yeah.
sometimes you
Absolutely.
wish you had someone telling you exactly what to
Yeah.
do. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It is. I think one of the best feelings, which is still a great feeling. Like just last week, I was hopping on some of the Kamala Harris and the coconut tree trend
Yeah.
thing that was happening, the memes and stuff. So I created a few designs for that,
Yep.
and within a couple of, I think with the next day actually, I got the first sale of one of them on. This was on TeePublic, so this is not me marketing the designs. This is just me putting them out there, hoping people might buy them, hoping people might find them, trying to use good keywords and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
uh, and yeah, someone found that and bought it within a 24-hour period. And yeah, when you have that, when you get that email, and it's still great. It's like, oh, someone, I had an idea yesterday. I thought it was just a silly joke. No one else would really get it,
Yeah.
but I put it out there anyway. And what do you know? Someone on the other side of the world has purchased it, and it's a great feeling when that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also very like an authentic response to your sense of humor being appreciated,
Mm.
because that kind of like tells me as a creator that, oh, just be yourself and people might actually like it, just put yourself out there,
Yeah.
and kind of gives you the confidence of like really using your sense of humor to that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I think that is one of the big lessons to learn is
Yeah.
everybody who's doing this and doing it successfully is in exactly the same boat. No one has an almanac of what's going to be popular this year, or
Yeah.
all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. It is literally people putting stuff out there and other people picking it up. And that happens on the customer level. It happens at a higher level, like when it comes to art licensing. If you're licensing your designs to Target or Walmart or something like that,
Yep.
those buyers for those companies are exactly the same. They don't know what's going to be popular, and they're going to trade shows or they're watching Instagram and they're saying, "Oh, I like that. That's cool. That could work for these products," and or we'd like to sell that on a t-shirt or whatever it might be. Um, so yeah, that principle of just accepting that there is no, you know,
Formula
definitive.
for, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's no formula. There's certainly frameworks and techniques and principles that work, but it's not a case of you're ever going to get a list of designs to create right now that are definitely going to sell. It's always a law of averages kind of thing.
Absolutely. And just as a time check, we have about 20 minutes to go in the stream. So whenever you want to jump into Printful, just a quick heads up for that.
We better do that now. Yeah, we better get on it. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to save that design and go back to Printful just to uh, finalize it and get it all hunky dory. And I think that's already saved. Yep, that's looking good. So we
Awesome.
got all the treatments there.
And are
Um,
there any location or region specific print shops that you like? We have Robert in the chat asking for any recommendations for good print shops in the EU region. Because
so
sometimes when you buy t-shirts from the US, you have to get two times. You
all
have to
right, yeah,
pay
yeah,
twice as much for the same shirt, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. Printful are international. They have printing facilities here in the UK. I've been to their
Yeah.
facility here. It's not far from me. I think they have others in most major European countries. They're actually a European company.
Nice.
So yeah, you can
Printful
definitely
it is.
find. Yeah, yeah, Printful is a good option, and we'll walk through that process now. So here's my artwork file again from Fresco. This is the background. So if I take that away, you can see this is what's actually going to be printed on the shirt, which is great. We've got no big background box. You can see like the actual because we've used a mask effect here on the lettering, it's actually
Yeah.
going to be letting the shirt color come through. That's what's going to give it the effect rather than us, adding adding a lighter color on top. So we're minimizing the colors, which is great. And so I'm just going to export this as a PNG, of course, because we
Let's
need
do
it
it.
to have
Transparent background.
the transparent background. Yes, exactly.
Love that.
Uh,
Printful is in the YouTube chat. So if you guys have any questions over for them, just hop onto the YouTube chat and ask them if there's
yeah.
something we cannot answer, because I know we're a little tight for time as well.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's
thanks for
that's
being
yeah.
there,
Printful are
Printful
very good
friends.
with customer
Yeah.
service and stuff like that as well. So I'm going to head over to Chrome now and to Printful. So I'll just whoops, no, that's not what I wanted to do. Sorry. Here we go. So hopefully you can see here. This is the
Yeah.
Printful page where we can get started. So I've just created this account today with Printful. This is a test account, so I can show you stuff without showing all my designs.
Yeah.
Um, and you'll see that they do have a discount as well, so you can order like sample products for stuff, which is something you should definitely do, especially if you're looking to sell, is to, order a few products, check that you're happy with the sizing and the quality and everything like that, and they give you a nice discount for doing that. So I'm just going to create my first product here. So I'm going to go to the product catalog and uh, actually. Yeah, so I'm going to find a t-shirt and we're just going to use the standard it's one of the most popular ones. It's the Bella and Canvas 3001, which you can see here. So this comes in a lot of different colors. You can see all the reviews. It's like one of the most popular
Yeah.
t-shirts. It's is this one I'm wearing now? No, I don't think it is. It's one I've got right here. But they're nice and soft, not too thick, and
Yeah.
pretty nice kind of fashion fit here. So I'm going to create a product here for this, and it's going to open up the design maker. And so I wanted to go with the Heather Mint color, which is this one here. So I'm just going to select that color, and then I'm going to upload my design file. So hopefully, so that's just uploading there, and then I'll apply that. And you
That
can
looks
see
pretty
the
cool.
design there on the shirt. So that's come out pretty nicely. Quite happy with that. You can see the sizes um, about what we want. If we look at the mock-ups, you probably get a better picture there of what they might look like
Yeah.
on the actual design here. So it's going to look something like that. I actually find that the mock-ups tend to slightly underestimate the size of the print. Because this can look a bit small on the designer here, but when you actually get it printed, it tends to be a bit bigger than that. So yeah, this looks great. And I don't really need to do much positioning wise or anything like that. I can save that product. You can see Printful's already telling me there's other products that it can offer them on down
Yeah.
here. So that's the process for saving that product. And then once I've created that product and it's live, I can then push that to my stores. You can see there, add to store. I don't have a store set up here, but I could push that to my Etsy store, to my Shopify store, wherever I'm selling these products from. And I could also do an order and order a sample of that right now as well. So
Yeah. I was
um,
gonna ask if we could do that before we push that to a shop.
yeah. So we could do an order here. So a test order when you're with Printful, you can do a 30% off for your first order here. So if we just create that and select the product.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. And then
Nice.
just
And
pick, yeah, you
the
can pick the
size.
size that you want exactly. Um,
What
so,
happens if you change the color? Does it also change it
so
in the
yeah, you
preview
will
here?
see, uh, I think it will show as a mock-up in the next screen. So,
Okay. Yeah.
uh, but for this one, we want to keep it on this nice kind of light mint color.
Yep.
Um, so then it will go through and yeah, basically now you're in a checkout where you can add more products and you can see the discount that you're getting for everything there. And
Yeah.
you can ship that to yourself. I won't go through that process and post my address here. But I'm
Yep.
sure people can do that themselves if they want to. Um,
Yeah.
so
That's
there was
pretty
just,
cool.
I wanted to show a couple of other products that we can do with Printful as well. How long have we got here? About
We have about 20 minutes, including the
20 minutes.
outro. So I'll have you
Okay,
explain what we did over the past 1.5 hours for our friends who joined us like in
sure.
between the stream. But there is a question that someone asked in the YouTube chat saying if we wanted to create like an embroidery with Printful, do you have experience doing that, or is there like a different type of design approach that we have to take for something like that?
I'm glad you asked that. I have prepared something just for that. So yeah, here in Printful, there's actually, well, in fact, I'll show you the finished product because I have it here in my hand. So
Awesome. Wow.
this is a design that we did for the line. So this is the Mothman cap. So you
Ooh.
can see this is an embroidered Mothman cap. This is actually a kid's size one because we bought a couple of these for my kids. Um, so we basically took the Mothman design that you maybe saw earlier, and we just kind of took his face and made an embroidered cap out of it. So I'll show you exactly how we did that here in Printful. Just head back over there, and I'll
Yeah.
show you how that's done. So again, heading over to product templates, I'll create a product, and heading over to hats. This is called a dad hat, I think, just the standard baseball cap. So we'll just go with the classic dad hat here, and um, and
That's
I will
pretty
show
cool. I did
you.
not know you could order embroidered
Yeah, so
things off Printful.
I'll show you. Well, I'll upload the file here, which is the embroidery file. So this is a PNG, so you
Yeah.
can probably see it there.
Is the file laid out differently than what we did
No,
today?
so obviously it has its own dimensions, so it
Yep.
fits on the cap. But
Yep.
this is just a PNG, and this is literally exactly the same as the design we just did. This is just red and white. So what you'll
Okay.
see is when I select this and apply it to the cap, what Printful's going to do is you can see here the colors. So with embroidery, as you may or may not know, you're essentially limited to certain
Yep.
color threads. So
Yep.
here it forces the color and it picks what it thinks is the most appropriate thread for that color. So you can see here now it's actually giving us a kind of live mock-up of the embroidery and what that will look like on the cap. Um, so it's gone red, red, white, white, and put that together, and then we can look at some of the mock-ups that they generate for us as well. Um,
Nice.
but
Are these mock-ups auto-generated? Can you change the how they look like the
so
mock-ups in your
these are
shop?
auto-generated by Printful.
Yeah.
But you can download them and use them. You're free to do that. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether we're going to have time today, but one of the things I was going to do was take these over to something like Adobe Express and put together something there to do like promotional images and stuff like that. But you can see from here this product. You can download the mockups.
We have
Uh,
about 18 minutes left, so
18 minutes
I don't
left.
know
Yeah.
if that helps your process, but that looks cool. I love the color matching as well because it's not 100% match. So Printful just decided to like find the closest match to that and then give you that artwork.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one other thing, one more product which I'll show you is we can do sticker sheets. So again, I'll show you the finished product here for
Yeah.
that one. This is a sticker sheet we did again for the cute cryptids collection, as we called it. So this is
Nice.
we've got. I'm not sure whether you can see that we've got Bigfoot and Mothman and the Loch
Yeah.
Ness Monster. So
Yeah.
this is a kind of cut out sticker sheet. So these will just peel off.
Nice.
So you've got like three or four different stickers there.
Pretty cool.
Um, so we could actually use Adobe Express for this. So why don't we do that here? Because um, that's a pretty easy process to do. So for the sticker sheet, essentially what you do is the sticker has a kind of background, of course, and then you just kind of put the individual stickers that you want on top.
Yeah.
Um, so you can, I think if we do a custom size here, I just need to find from Printful the actual sticker size. So let's look for sticker sheet.
Yep.
And again,
And
this
is
is like
there
a,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, I was just going to say this is a, you can see these are pretty cheap products to get
Yeah.
started with Printful. If you didn't want to go straight in with t-shirts and stuff,
Yeah.
you can start with some pretty cheap products like stickers. So I'm just gonna go over here. So this is 21 centimeters. What is it? 21 centimeters high by 14.8. and here in Adobe Express. So we can then uh, upload the individual characters. So I've got here Bigfoot, um, and then actually this image of Bigfoot, you can see it's actually got a white background. So I'm going to just
Yep.
use the remove background in Adobe Express just to get rid of that.
Pretty
And then
cool.
that's perfect. That'll be ready for the sticker sheet. And I'm just going to add a few more.
And is there
So
like a color mode that you typically use when you're creating t-shirt design? Someone in the chat says, I had created a design in Illustrator, but the colors were set to RGB. After changing to CMYK for printing and uploading it to Printful, the color was really washed out. Any tips for that?
yeah, it can be tricky to kind of nail the color
Yeah,
situation. Um, and yeah, the printers do print in CMYK. Um, so oftentimes it can help to design in the first place in CMYK. I know that's kind of
yeah,
maybe obvious, uh, but often we are, yeah, sometimes by default we are designing, aren't we, in RGB.
yep.
Um, so so yeah, it can help to just to design in CMYK. But yeah, there is obviously that limitation on the printers. The printers can only print what the printers can print, and that's CMYK. And they often do struggle with uh, trying to get super bright colors and anything that has to be really, really strong, which is why something muted like our design that we just did, our Loch Ness Monster one, works kind of perfectly for Printful. But if you want to get really super bright colors and stuff like that, you probably need to look at screen printing or something like that.
Awesome.
So I'm just going to head back over here and show you how this works. So there in Adobe Express, I've literally just pasted in a few of the images. I removed the backgrounds, and then I've exported this with no background color. So of
Yep.
course you could do this in Printful, but Adobe Express allows you to do that as well pretty quickly and easily as well. So um,
Yeah, and you get like extra options to like remove background and like,
yeah, removing the background's really easy. Um, and then we've got the artwork file here. And once that's uploaded,
I love this collection though. It's like perfect for kids and even adults.
yeah, my kids really like the Mothman hat and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. They're really happy with that. And then one final thing we just need to do here is we just need to upload a background for these sticker sheets. So I'm just going to do a solid background color for this one. But
Yeah.
again, with your own sticker sheet, you might want to, you might want to have a little pattern on there or something like that just to make it look neat and nice. So over here, we just need to set the background. So again, I'm just going to upload that. It's literally just a solid black background for this sticker sheet.
Yeah, maybe you can
Uh,
include text information like your Instagram
exactly,
handle,
yeah,
stuff like that, or a QR code maybe like for your shop or something
exactly,
similar.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So you can see here what Printful does is that then it generates the mockup and it shows you essentially what you're going to get, which is the top layer. So your design, your sticker layer, whatever
yeah,
you had on there, is going to all be traced around, as it were, for the stickers, so that they can be cut out and they're going to be easily peelable off the sticker sheet. So that's just another nice, cheap little product you can make. And I mean, you can even obviously you could throw in those if you wanted to do as freebies or something like that, or you can just save them
yeah,
and offer them as a product as well.
yeah. That's awesome.
So we've got the t-shirt design. In fact, if I go back to my slides here, I can show you uh, this other one we did. I've got the t-shirt version of this. So again, you can see the colors are kind of, in the design itself on the screen, they're not super, super bright. You see that okay?
Yep,
But this, you can see the quality of the print is really nice. This is from Printful, of course, and the textures have come through quite nicely. We've also got a little label print, which you can offer as well to kind of professionalize the whole
That's pretty
thing.
cool. Yeah.
So you can do those kind of things with them as well. So yeah, sticker sheet, hats with the embroidery, which is really nice. And
That's actually
yep,
pretty cool. It is more vibrant on the t-shirt as well. So that's nice to see.
yeah, the quality
Yeah.
is really great. That's why I recommend Printful
Yeah.
for quality. That you just kind of get consistent quality across the board. So oh, we did a little patch as well. You can
Oh,
see
cute.
that.
Yeah.
So my son's got that on his backpack. Um, so
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
there's lots you can do with Printful, and yeah, hopefully that's kind of simplified the process a little bit for anyone who's completely new to it. But if you do want to find out more, there's like I said, I've got this free ebook that people can go and check out. I also send a newsletter every week with
Yeah.
tips and tricks, and try and keep on top of the news in print on demand and stuff like that. So if you're interested, the sign up is michaelessek.com/Adobe if you want
Awesome.
to check that out.
Yeah, we before we wrap up here, we do have about 8, 9 minutes to go. So are there any last minute things you wanted to maybe cover or some tips and tricks that you wanted to share? I would love that as well.
Yeah, so yeah, we moved pretty fast there, didn't we? We did quite well. I
Yeah.
didn't think we'd get through all that so fast.
Yeah, we did
Um,
good for time.
we
I
did good,
think
yeah.
one of the things would be what are your future plans and goals with like t-shirt design? Do you plan on doing this for the near future, or are they like what's your dream t-shirt design that you always wanted to make and never came up with? I think that would be my question.
Yeah, I don't know if there is such a thing as the dream t-shirt design.
Yeah.
But 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 yeah, I've got a couple of tips here actually in my slides if we
Yeah.
want to go back to those, and I'll
Let's
just
do
kind
it.
of dive into those. But yeah, to answer the question about future for me, yeah, I like producing. Don't get me wrong, I've gone through periods where I've not produced many designs at all,
Yeah.
but I think once you find something that you're good at, and I do think I'm good at coming up with ideas, turning them into designs, then you should keep doing it. So yeah, I think I'm going to keep on, and I do like learning more about what makes things funny, what makes things click with people.
Yeah.
And these are just a couple of tips on what kind of designs sell well. So if you can tap into an existing reference point for people, something that they recognize, for example, the phrases we've used in these designs, like God bless this mess is a phrase
Yeah.
people recognize. So
Yeah.
that's using something people know rather than, trying to do just your own original phrase or whatever it might be. It makes sense to do those kind of things. Uh, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't
Yeah.
try and be too clever. Like we said, simple t-shirt designs often work best, and you want to create designs that work as t-shirts, so they are appropriate for the product. We talked a lot about the design tips and tricks here that really work for that. Things like keeping your colors limited, things like relatively short phrases that are easily scannable and readable. So it's really about the idea and the design, coming together and clicking. And if you can do that, that's where the magic happens, really. So we talked about a few technical design tips like simplicity, minimizing colors, minimizing ink coverage. So that's kind of what we did, when we were kind of using the mask and
Yeah.
using the stipple brush to kind of cut away from some of the text. Just having solid blocks of ink on the shirt. As you probably know, it's not that comfortable. It kind of looks a bit amateurish. So anything you can do to kind of cut away a bit, is good. And a
That's
little bit with our design as well. We used off black darks, and we didn't use lights in this one. But for example, with our uh, God bless this Ness, we didn't use a black for the outline. We used a kind of dark green.
yeah.
That's something that can make things look a bit more professional as well. And obviously you've got Printful's templates to use, so use those for your starting points. The worst thing is when you've created a design, you go to upload it and you find that it's the wrong size, or you've got to squish it or
Yeah.
something to make it fit. So
We saw
yeah,
a
there's a
perfect
few.
example with the sticker sheet that you made because you got the sizing from Printful. So that was pretty cool to
Exactly.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are some of the other designs we did. We've seen those before.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and the free ebook. So yeah. Any other questions you want me to tackle?
Um, I think we're good for now. I would love if you can give us a quick outro of like what we started from, how it was the process, like a quick 2 minute brief, and then we can cut to close.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So obviously we started over in Fresco
Fresco.
on the iPad. I
Yeah.
can head back over there and just show you. Um, we went from sketch all the way to a finished design.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry. There we go. So there's my screen for the iPad. The design we started with Fresco. So yeah, we started with a sketch, and then we did the line work for the illustration and
Yeah.
colored that in. Used this stipple brush to get a nice kind of uh, effect for the shading, and use that again on the text to kind of cut away a bit and give it that kind of weathered and worn effect. And then we
Mm,
headed back over to Photoshop. We added the text in Photoshop. We headed back into Fresco to actually add the effects on the text, and then we headed over to Printful to actually upload our design to add it onto a T-shirt
yeah.
to create uh, this mock-up, and we can see the various mock-ups we've got there as well. And and yeah, and then we just added a couple of extra products that we can do. We obviously had the Mothman hat, the stickers. So you can do embroidery. You can do. I mean, you can check out Printful in your own time and see how many products they offer. But obviously, there's a lot more than just plain old T-shirts. There's embroidery on various products. There's stickers and who knows what cups and mugs and all kinds of things you can do.
Yeah, that's pretty
Uh,
cool.
so
What
we've
kind of
covered a
other
lot.
products does Printful offer? Maybe we can take a
Yeah,
quick
we
look
can
at
have a
that
quick
as
look
well.
in the catalog here.
Yeah.
Uh, so flags,
Oh, wow.
obviously the caps. Oh wow, they've got base backpacks. So yeah, they break it down into these different categories as well. You can see tote bags are a nice, easy one to do. Phone cases,
Yeah.
footwear,
Um, wow. That's a
hair
wide range of
accessories.
products. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Someone in the chat, Clever, asks if you check prints for accuracy as compared to mockups. I think that would be when you order like a sample.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you're new to Printful, like I said, you get this discount
Yeah.
to order a load of sample products. So I would recommend you do that, especially if you're going to be selling them and that's your long-term plan. You want to make sure that you're happy with the print quality
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, you can obviously check it out on different products and see that you're happy with the quality. I recommend everyone does that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Michael. Where can people reach out to you if they have any future questions or if they want to buy your products? Is there a website that we can go to or something similar,
Yeah,
like a
I'm
link?
at michaelessek.com.
Yeah.
That's my website and my blog. You can sign up there for my newsletter. And as you can see on the screen, you can get a free copy of my book, Five Ways to Improve Your Design Ideas. So I'm
Yeah.
often sharing tips and tricks for coming up with ideas. I believe that's actually the most powerful part of your designs is the concept behind them in the first place. So that's what I'm really diving into and interested in. So you can find out more on my website and join my free weekly newsletter where
Yeah.
I share more tips. And obviously, I'm on all the socials as well, so you can follow me everywhere. I'm at Michael Essek on all of the things.
Yeah. Awesome. You have a YouTube channel as well, from what I
I'm
know.
on YouTube as well. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That's awesome. And to close, Clever in the chat says, looks simple, but it's deep. And I completely agree. If you all missed today's session, please go back to our YouTube channel at Adobe Live and you can watch the replay. If you have any questions, leave us in the comments. And thank you so much, Michael, for joining us today and sharing insights about t-shirt design and Printful. I want to thank YouTube and Behance for being so interactive with us today. And stay tuned for more Adobe Live programming. Thank you so much, Michael. And thanks, chat, for joining. We'll see you another
Thanks.
time. Bye for
Thank
now.
you. Bye bye.